All right, we are back, and we are now going to be talking about the Pac-12. Starting with, we were at this game, California at Washington.
What a game to watch on this one. Overtime win for the Dogs, 31-24. Funny enough, we were actually on the second row, on the right next to the dog pound. I guess I don't know if it's called the dog pound or whatnot.
The pack,
The pack. Dog pound sounds
dog
better.
pack or dog pound, yeah.
Yeah. We were right near the end zone when on the overtime touchdowns and everything like that. Great start for the Dogs in the first half. Dylan Morris, I know he has always been kind of trashed a lot for his performance. Came out really hot. California was a couple starting off their series with a interception and everything like that. But then come second half, California really turned it on. UW's defense still, in my opinion, gets a lot of credit because they did everything they could to keep UW in the game, in the lead, and everything like that. But shout out to California, mostly their quarterback, who went 30 for 41, 319 yards, 2 scores, and he also ran one or two in, maybe just one.
One.
Okay, one in. Really, Washington had no stop for him, and that especially in that second half, he kind of ran buck wild on them. Much needed win for the Dogs on this one. Kelly, I want to let you actually speak a little bit more on this one because obviously you're a Dogs fan and you being there, seeing what you thought.
First of all, being the greatest setting in college football, it was without a doubt the greatest setting in college. My first time being in the new stadium was amazing. I could go on and on about that, but I'm going to get to the game. So, first half of the game, yeah, Washington looking really good, starting off their first drive with an interception. Being able to watch the game that close as we were was definitely different than, you get that bird's eye view on TV. So I was actually, trying to watch where the ball was going more. I was trying to watch with the quarterbacks with the handoffs, trying to read guys, because you're at that level now where you can kind of see, the hand motions, all that stuff. So it definitely was a different feeling. Like he said, Dylan Morris, he started off hot, but then second half kind of was getting, I don't know
Sloppy.
he was getting sloppy. He was starting to throw a lot of high passes. Of course, some of them were high passes that he was just throwing the ball away, but I felt like he was just starting to get very inaccurate. To me, unfortunately, the running game couldn't get going at all. Washington, known for their great running game that they've had, has not yet really actually gone off at all this season that we've seen. But I think what's really kept UW so far in their 2-win game has been their defense.
I think defense has been the biggest thing in their whole season. They've kind of kept him in every game. I am going to kind of down Dylan Morris a little bit. I think he not only did have a good first half, but there's one thing that really drives me nuts is that he cannot throw a slant pass to save his life. More times than not, he's either missed them. He had a couple. One was good for a touchdown, everything like that, but he either threw behind them or too low. And a lot of his throwaway passes, like you said, that he was scrambling and everything like that. But then there were a couple that really looked like he just threw it. And there wasn't a lot of pressure or anything like that. So he needs to stay a little bit more confident in the pocket, needs to trust his line. I know people could say, well, he was running for his life. His line wasn't blocking. The line did fine. The line did fine for them. It obviously there's more of a pass set line than they are a run set line. Obviously showed because Washington couldn't run the ball. But I will say I can't say the greatest setting in college football because I've only been to 2 college football stadiums in my life. This is my first college football game in 15 years. Last one I went to happened to be a Washington State team and a California team. It was Wazoo versus USC. But a really beautiful stadium. I will say that. I do want to see one more stadium before my time is up if I don't see all of them. But great win for the Dogs. And for me, like I said, a proud moment was watching kid by the name of Sean Toomey Stout run out in the field. someone that I coached in my last few years there at his young age. So that's a proud moment for me. Great atmosphere, though. I mean, I will say I've been to many pro games, professional sports games, especially Seahawks games, and there's nothing better feel than college football. And Washington brings that. They bring that joy into watching football in a different way. And it is a great atmosphere, a really great atmosphere, and a beautiful stadium. I've been there 3 times now, twice as a coach for coaching clinics, and then 1 time as a fan.
It's been 23 years since I ever been to a game, and like I said, being in this new stadium was amazing. I was actually talking to my sister who went and graduated from UW, and she says, yeah, pretty much the same thing, just everybody's around you, just respectful, everybody's having a good time. What I was actually really amazed was seeing the amount, and it is true, the amount of alumni that show up to these games, and they are just in the game. Mm-hmm. They are doing, the hand motions. They are, yelling and screaming, cheering. Like I said, it wasn't just, the student section. It was, people that graduated, the alumni that like I said, I'm looking around, even just right next to us in a section, middle section over, and I'm just, I can go on and just how amazing like that was. I felt welcome, I just felt so a part of it.
Well, that's the thing, and I had said this to Kelly and the rest of the group that we went on this game. The atmosphere is different to me than you go to a Seahawks game because Seahawks fans are very passionate about the team, but 90% of the people are just drunk off their ass. Really, that's really the case. And there are a lot of people that show a lot of passion for the Seahawks, but a lot of times people are plastered by the third quarter. Washington, you don't get that, though. At UW, you don't get that. You get more passionate, and that's because we're fans of Seattle Seahawks. Everyone that goes there is a fan. Washington, a lot of these people graduated from there. Obviously, we didn't. But more so, Washington fans, college football fans in general, they're inbred to love these programs. And that's something like Kelly and his family, they're inbred to love Washington, with family members graduating from there, being longtime fans. It's kind of just more in the bloodline being a Washington Huskies fan.
Well, what most people still don't realize is that Washington football was the only football that was here before the Seahawks. So people still don't realize that, the newer generations don't realize, that this college has been around, what I think I saw like the oldest conference champion was like 1916, I think we saw.
Yep.
And yeah, you got to realize this was our team, like when my family actually moved up here from California and cheered for. So, I mean, I love both teams. I both love all Seattle sports too. But like I said, there's nothing like that, like we just went to. I'd love to keep talking about this, but
one more I will say on that
okay.
Comment there.
Okay, go ahead.
Reason why a lot of people like Washington over Seattle. Remember they won 2 national championships before Seattle ever got in the Super Bowl picture.
That's true.
Jumping to the next game because we could talk about Washington. That could be a segment for later of passion for these teams.
One sec before you actually get to that, you see what's going on there at the top?
Little baseball facts, little baseball talk now.
We're keeping an eye on.
We're keeping on baseball and everything like that. Really, we love the Mariners. We want to see them go. In my opinion, they need to win out the rest of the season. Hope for some losses. They're so close to making the playoffs. It'll be the first playoff appearance in 20 years. They haven't made the playoffs since the miraculous year of 2001 when they won 116 games. Love this Mariners team. Love what they're doing. Love everything that they're going for and everything like that.
Love the fight they're trying
to
do
love
right
the fight. We really want to see them go.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I want to point that out because last we looked, we were losing 3-0. Then we came back and tied, and then I look up and like, shoot, we're up by 4 right now. So I'm like very happy. Anyway.
Also a big shout out win for the Seattle Kraken on their first ever expedition game, beating the Vancouver Canucks yesterday. Great win for them. So getting back to the college football though, because we can, like I said, we can always talk about
Seattle Storm, great season too. Sorry that you.
Yeah, I was trying to show limelight. I wasn't trying to. I could say, you know what? Here's my limelight. Seattle Seahawks, you suck ass. Piss pass performance. Okay.
I said Seattle Storm.
No, I'm just saying, like, we want to talk about teams that are losing. You brought up the Seattle Storm. I want to think about that. I want to think about teams that are doing good. You know, we can talk about piss ass.
You can see how we're on the same page, ladies and gentlemen.
Piss ass performances. Super, love you. Hope you come back for one more year.
One more year.
But honestly, you had a tremendous career. I don't think it's been. Again, love her love Super, tremendous. I think she deserves. Be looked at as one of the greatest WNBA players of all time. Finally, going into my favorite team in Oregon. While we get on the subject, Oregon, what looked like to be a big win for them, winning 41-19. Actually, at one point, it was 24-19. Arizona was fighting hard, coming back. They were trying to show a little bit of limelight after kind of 3 piss-poor performances early in the season. Ultimately, just shit the brick at the very end. Oregon coming on top, 17-7. Kind of you see a little bit more favoring Arizona in the second and third. Obviously, it's 7-3 in the second quarter, and then 9-0 in the third quarter, which helped bounce Arizona back. But then ultimately, turnovers was the big key thing. Winning 41, going 17-0. Ultimately, getting that 41 victory. I would say this about a great performance by the Arizona quarterback, trying his best to keep him in the game. Ultimately, I think the biggest factor is the run game of Oregon, and then just their defense. Again, this was a game that I said before, Oregon needs a much needed big victory to kind of continue a strong path in not only the Pac-12 play, but in the top 5 rankings going into college football playoffs. Hopefully they continue it. So I don't know if you have anything to say to that.
I really don't. I mean, good job, Oregon. You know, like I said, they're still holding on to that number 3 spot there in the rankings. So, like I said, I'm rooting for Oregon to hopefully do good. You know, I want them to do good. You know, representing the Pac-12. Mm-hmm. So I'm pulling for them. So even if I don't think they play Washington.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, I haven't looked at the schedule. I mean, even if they beat us,
well, they're in the Pac-12 North together, so I think they have to play.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So even if they most likely will beat my Huskies, I really hope they do good. So
I don't know. I'm gonna say we're not gonna guarantee. I'm not gonna say Oregon's gonna guarantee win anything. I say they have to. I can't guarantee anything. They just have to, because you guarantee something.
You're saying not like easy wins, but you're saying they're gonna have some hard fought.
Well, the reason why I say that is because last year they should have beat Oregon State, and Oregon State beat them. And then you never know what happens in Pac-12 football. We've always said that, and we actually are gonna get to a couple games, and one game in particular that actually proves that theory alone. So we're going to jump to the next game. We're going to go to a game that we actually both thought was going to go the opposite direction.
I picked Stanford.
We both picked Stanford. UCLA winning 11-point victory, 35-24 against Stanford. Not a game that we actually thought was going to be I think it was going to be the other way around.
Yep.
And you know what, though? Like, I guess you can see that it could have gone either way, just because UCLA was on fire. Fortunately, lost to Fresno State. But they did beat LSU. They handily beat LSU. Great win for them. Stanford kind of taking a step back on that. They needed a much needed win. UCLA needed this much needed win to kind of open the gate for kind of a wide open Pac-12 South conference division, and that Stanford needing this win to kind of help them be up there in when they face Oregon.
As I've said many times, I always feel like Stanford's that one team that, somebody like Oregon or Washington or even USC could be doing always great, and then Stanford comes in and puts a whooping on them. And so far, I think I'm actually 0-2 when I've picked Stanford for their game. That I think that they are actually going to come in and do this. So maybe that time is just not, there anymore.
They could always bounce back. Season's not over yet for any of these teams.
That's true.
except for if you're Arizona and probably Washington State, but we'll get into that later. Next game, speaking of Washington State, quick prayer shot for both Utah and Washington State. Utah had a player that unfortunately passed away yesterday, and Washington State actually had a player, I think, of the game. Was he killed? Because I heard he was shot, fatally injured, and serious injury.
Oh, because I heard I might have been registered report, but I thought I saw somebody caught that. Somebody player died for Washington State as well. Are you looking it up real quick?
Yeah, I'm looking it up real quick. If you want to.
Anyway, I'll go ahead and say this. Both teams losing players, and a way we never want to see a player, lose his life. Fortunately, in the times we live in, stuff like this has been happening. Sad to see that, two teams like this having to go into a game like this. I'll see what Rhino brings up here. I thought I saw, that Washington State, they had a shooting and there were some people that got caught in it. One of them actually was a player. I actually have a friend's daughter who was over there right now, and luckily she was safe. She was actually nowhere near the area.
Sounds like he is in stable condition right now.
Okay.
But the player from Utah, unfortunately, was thank you, Ray, for the article. I just saw it too. The Washington State player is in stable condition and remains in the hospital. Unfortunately, Utah also had a shooting near campus, and he unfortunately, two very young athletes. Unfortunately, one. Unfortunately, his life has been taken. It's very unfortunate for any situation like that, especially going into a game. But just in general in life, to have something like that happen, for these coaches to have these phone calls about this, and also the parents to have to hear these conversations too. It's hard for already parents because they send their kids off to college, and so prayers for the Washington State player. Hopefully, he has a good recovery. And then prayers to the family and the immediate family, and then the Utah football family for the loss of their teammate and son.
You hear us say many times, we like to represent Pac-12, and even though Utah not having a great season, something like this, brings the whole entire conference together, and just like a player getting injured on the field, like we saw at the football game. The whole entire fan base, giving him a clap, glad he's okay, walking off. I mean, this is not, near that, but still, this is sad. And Utah, we're sorry for your loss. And,
speaking of that hit, that was just a whooping hit. That was that was heard around the world.
Oh yeah, that
was heard around the world. All right, we're gonna jump into a little bit positive note right now. Sorry I didn't say much about the Washington State Utah game. It was kind of just a good win for Utah over Wazoo. I think Wazoo's having a bad year, and they're going to be struggling all year. Going to a game that actually is an upset game, in my opinion. Oregon State beating USC 45-27. USC's kryptonite has kind of been Oregon State in some years. They've always had some hard times with Oregon State. I remember in the limelight of the USC dominant eras, Oregon State was a team that always somehow beat them. For the Beavers going into USC, great performance by them. I know there's Oregon State fans. I know there's one in particular that's probably cheering his ass off right now about this. And great win for the Beavers. Like I said, this proves to me that this team is going to fight Oregon and everybody for a Pac-12 championship spot. So,
would you say Oregon State is very underrated this season?
Mm-hmm. I think they're very underrated because you look at, take the Pac-12 North, for example, and you had teams like that have been so dominant, Oregon, Stanford, and even you could put Washington's name out there because of the Chris Peterson era. They looked at it as the top three. Oregon State's always been kind of outside because Wazoo has its up and down years, Cal has its up and down years, Same with Oregon State. I think Oregon State right now is so underrated, and they're not being looked at as something as a favorite to win because they'll win games where they shouldn't win, but then they'll lose the games they need to win,
Right.
and everything like that.
Right.
So,
okay. All right. Our last game, Colorado at Arizona State. Man, Colorado's another one I was trying to pull for this year, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to happen for them this year.
nope. Much needed win by Arizona State after their loss last week, and bouncing back again, trying to keep in line for a Pac-12 South representation in the Pac-12 championship. Really kind of opened the door with the USC loss. That is kind of a three-way tie right now for that final spots. Unfortunately, with USC losing this week, it does drop them to 1 and 2. So I think that drops them pretty low in the conference actually. So great win by Arizona State, bounce back, and we'll look forward as we'll see this week and see if maybe they can continue that win streak and going into continuing to ride and compete. So we can go to schedule for next week.
I just want to point out there, too, in that Arizona game, Jaden Daniels using his legs more than his arm, it looks like in this game, rushing for 2 touchdowns, not throwing a touchdown. So, anyway, yes, let's look at next week's games. And we'll also be making our predictions as well. Starting off with USC at Colorado.
Bounce back win, USC.
Pretty much what he said. Next game, Oregon at Stanford.
I think if you look at games of the week, I think there's actually 3 games to watch out for this week in the Pac-12. I think this is the one. Am I ever going to go against my Ducks? Oregon wins, very close win, but Stanford's going to give them a hell of a run.
Same thing here as well. Oregon, I think it's going to be a hard-fought game with Oregon coming out with a close win. Next up, Washington State at California.
I'm going to say after watching the performance of California and watching a game earlier today this year of Wazoo, Wazoo is not a very strong team. Give me California.
After watching Chase and what he could do both in the air and in his run game, yeah, I'm going to go with California too. Next up, we have Washington at Oregon State. This is tough.
I'm going to let you pick first because I'm going to... I have a thought on this one.
I mean, this is going to be tough for me. After, like we were talking about, like the first half compared to the second half of the game, I am actually going to go with Washington, but I'm going to say it's going to be a close win. Like a very, like a 2-point win.
That's actually the same statement I have. I think Washington's defense is going to be the reason why they win again. Oregon State. I wouldn't be surprised if I get this one wrong. And I kind of hope I am a little bit, but I'm going to give Washington an edge right here because, like I said, these are the type of games that Oregon State need to win that they don't win. This is another game I say is another game to watch out for, the game of the week. I think they can do it. I think Washington can do it, but it is very close. I wouldn't be surprised if Oregon State does win. But like I said, it's the fact of the matter is that Oregon State wins the games that they should lose, but they lose the games they should win. So
okay. Lastly, then we have Arizona State at UCLA.
Actually, I'm going to go Arizona State on this one. I think this is the second best game of the week in Pac-12 play. This is kind of the running for the Pac-12 South Conference, and I think Arizona State comes out on a very close victory on this one.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let us know, guys, what your predictions are. Not just maybe even for this Pac-12, maybe if you're a Big Ten or an SEC, let us know what you guys think about those. Also, I believe Rhino here has some stats you'd like to share.
Well, this is kind of my question to you, and I just giving your thoughts and everything like that. I know, obviously, I know college football a little bit more, and I'll have my opinion going into this too. A couple things we're going to talk about. We always talk about Pac-12, so kind of the thought process of the week was, which Pac-12 team actually has been the best? And we're going to not say overall, but we're going to go back to the year 2000, and that's because that's when I first started watching really college football. And that's kind of when it's really been brought up and everything like that. So, a couple keynotes things to kind of talk about is overall winning percentage from Pac-12 teams, starting with Colorado is at 24.7 winning percentage, followed by Oregon State at 30% win percentage. So from top to bottom, 12-1. Here are the teams ranked. So obviously it goes Colorado, Oregon State, California, Arizona, Washington State, UCLA, Utah, Arizona State, Washington, USC, and then there's a tie for first place at 73.3% win percentage is Stanford and then Oregon. So my question to Kel is this. Since 2000, which Pac-12 team do you think has been the most dominant program? And I'm going to give you some stats. So I'm going to give you some stats on the season and everything like that between the two. And it really comes down between two teams if you really think about it. It comes down between USC and Oregon.
That's actually the two I was actually going to pick as well.
So here is kind of some stats. And I just want your opinion on this. And it's an open-ended opinion. I do have one of my own, and I'll say it after you.
Okay.
So if you look at Oregon stats, they have eight Pac-12 / Pac-10 titles. Because remember, the Pac-10 was not
Right.
And then Oregon has 5 North Division titles, Pac-12 North Division titles. USC has 3. Now, Oregon in bowl games, from not all their bowl games, but the New Year's bowl games, or whatever bowl game was represented from them, is 5-4, including 2 national championship losses. USC has 7 Pac-12 / Pac-10 championships, 3 Pac-12 South championships. They're currently 6-2 in bowl games, which includes a 2-1 record in national championships. If you talk about players, obviously USC has had 3 Heisman winners and to Oregon's 1 winner. So in your mind, who's the more dominant program?
So I'm going to go ahead and start off by saying, Oregon, especially under the Chip Kelly era, was a dominant program. I just remember cringing every time we would play them because I know how great they were. Even just watching them against other teams, having players like Marcus Mariota. No, wait, he was not.
No.
I'm sorry. That's not right.
No, you're good.
I'm trying. I used to know
big names from the Chip Kelly area. Quarterback was Darren Thomas. Their main running back, kind of the main core.
Who was that main running back?
LaMichael James.
Okay, I was right.
And then Kenyon Barner. They also had DeAnthony Thomas, and they had a variety of defensive players too. But obviously, if you think about the Oregon era of the Chip Kelly timeline of that dominancy, it was LaMichael James, Kenyon Barner, DeAnthony Thomas, and then Darren Thomas as well.
So all great guys back then. Like I said, he had just said, unfortunately, 0-2 in national championship games.
Yep.
I mean, it was kind of that thing, and we've always made fun of Oregon, about it. They are always great until they can get to the big one, and like I said, you're actually always hoping them because being like representing the Pac-12. Yeah, you want them to win, but unfortunately, couldn't come up. So now I'm gonna switch over to USC. USC, they're in the obviously their best probably era ever, the Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Pete Carroll era. I mean, do I need to say much more about that whole era than just as you probably have said many times, they were pretty much a cheat code.
Well, they were 100% a cheat code,
but if I had to really pick between the two, I honestly think would have to go with USC as being the top Pac-10 / Pac-12 team from 2000 to now.
I 100% agree with that, and I think a lot of it comes down to national championship play. Not only that, but the bowl games and being feared. And there was no better team in those eras than USC and the Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart era. Now, had Oregon won a national championship with either Mariota or the Chip Kelly era, whole different ball game. They were one of the most skilled teams that ever came through college football. And yes, a lot of people could say, well, the national championships were vacated for USC because of whatever stupid reason. Honestly, it was a dumb reason because it was one player. It wasn't a cheat thing. It was just one player got paid.
Yep.
But to me, though Oregon has dominated more in the Pac-12 play as of recently, that's not saying that they're the better team overall because they can win in the Pac-12, but they can't win outside. Right. And USC did. And the only loss that they had, one of the major losses they had in a bowl game was the Texas national championship game, which is ultimately, in my opinion, the greatest national championship game ever played. It was really great game.
Oh yeah.
And just watching the USC team, especially in that timeline, they were so good that you really didn't know how to Oregon's method. So the one thing about Oregon is that they were too fast, but they weren't strong. USC was fast and strong. You had nothing.
Right.
You had nothing on that. Couple other teams that were kind of up there for candidates, whereas Stanford and Washington, both having the next most years as champions and everything like that. I think with those teams, it's more of kind of just segments. Washington really showing great early dominance in the Cody Pickett and the Rick Newhouse era, but then he took a real bad drop with Tyrone Willingham, Steve Sarkisian. Obviously, we're going to show love to UW on that timeline too because of two players in general, Jake Locker from Ferndale, and then we actually have a classmate that played on UW. Well, he suited up for UW.
He suited up,
but he still played. You know what? We can give him a hard time.
I think he only played like in 2 games,
but we got to give him credit. I mean, it's something more than a lot of people can ever say.
Pete
Galbraith. Yep. Shout out to you, Pete. So, and they were bouncing back in that time too, and then obviously the Chris Peterson era, which I think anyone could say if you think about an era, what era was great for UW, it was the era of the Chris Peterson era. I still think they need a better quarterback at that time, and then he could have been more dominant. I'm not a Jake Browning fan. That team relied solely where like Oregon relied on their offense a lot in the Chip Kelly era. The Chris Peterson era for UW relied on their defense.
Well, you also got to remember too, Washington actually lost their scholarships for a few years as well. So once they finally got that back and trying to rebuild the team, you can see, like you said, like Steve Stark. That was during Steve Sarkisian and Willingham's time when that was going on. They couldn't go out and recruit a whole lot of big names at all. But yeah, Chris Peterson coming in and pretty much during that time when it was getting good. Chris Peterson being a big name over in Idaho.
Chris Peterson?
Yeah.
Boise State.
Boise.
You're in the right state. You're in the right state.
Yeah. I just get the color actually mixed up is what I do. For Boise, big name. He had great success over there. People actually, from what I'm told, wanted to play for him. So as soon as he came over to UW and saw that he was there and what he did over there at Boise, that wanted to come play for Chris Peterson. Obviously, UW gets a lot of people, not just from our local, but we get like a lot of guys that come up from California. We also get a lot of guys that actually come from like the Hawaiian Islands as well. I want to say we also get some from like even like Texas.
At that time, Washington was getting a lot of top ranked recruits coming to. And again, too, it's market value of the area that you're going to go to. So you're looking at Washington being one of the highest because it's Seattle. It's one of the highest markets in the United States. I think it's like 12th highest, or I think it's like number 12. Obviously, USC and UCLA get a lot of hype because it's in Los Angeles. Oregon gets a lot of hype because of their sponsorship by Nike. Washington with being in Seattle and everything like that. Stanford being a very high educated school. The rest of colleges are kind of more so if you have more loyalty to those programs. So
right.
Going through the Pac-12 championships from 2000, obviously, like you said before, Oregon had 8. USC has 7. The next one, if I'm reading this correctly, is Washington with 3. They're also tied with Stanford at 3. And some notable one-time winners that you probably never heard of, you probably didn't know, is Oregon State. There was a 3-way tie for the Pac-10 championship in 2000 between Washington, Oregon, and Oregon State.
I was going to say, yeah, Oregon nearly sneak in there and take that one.
Mm-hmm.
State.
Washington State shared a Pac-12 championship with USC in 2002. California shared a Pac-12 championship with USC in 2006. Arizona State shared a Pac-10 championship with USC. I believe so. Arizona State shared one with USC in 2007. And then Stanford, and this is kind of Stanford's big era, 2012 to 2015. They've won 3 Pac-12 championships, which is the next highest in the Pac-12 era, with Oregon winning 4, Stanford won 3, Washington won 2, and USC has won 1. Overall, if you had to say which one is the better program, overall, I think it's handily going to say USC again. If you think of total by team, this is from the beginning. USC at 39. Take a wild guess, though, who's tied for number 2. Obviously, there are 2 teams. 2 teams, but I think it's there's 3. The second most, yeah. Second most Pac-10 titles. Pac-12 titles.
I'll just throw it out there. Is it UW?
It is UW.
And Oregon?
Nope.
Not Oregon.
Not Oregon.
Okay. Pac-12. I'm actually trying to remember who was
It was a little tricky because their last championship was in 1998.
Go ahead and hit me with it then.
UCLA.
Okay.
So currently, right now, as it stands in all Pac-12 championship, it goes USC has 39, Washington and UCLA have 17, Stanford has 15, California with 14, Oregon with 13, Oregon State 5, Washington State 5, Arizona State 3, Arizona 1.
UCLA, I always think they're a so-so football team, but I always think of them for their like softball and I think volleyball team.
For UCLA? We had one major one. The hard part is because they're better in the old era, but UCLA is basketball for sure.
Right.
Basketball, like dominancy in basketball. I think UCLA has the most national championships in any college program.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would be actually interested to know which college actually has the most overall championship ball sport.
I think it's UCLA. Anyways, that was kind of our hot topic as we want to talk about Pac-12 dominancy through the years. And we both in agreement, as much as we are not fans of this school, but we got to give it credit to where credit's due. USC is the more dominant program of the Pac-12. You guys have any you want to put your own 2 cents into this and everything like that, please more than welcome to. We definitely love the debates and everything like that. But as it stands right now, best overall team in the Pac-12 era, USC.
Yep, couldn't agree more. Anyway, anybody doesn't have any questions for us right now, we will go ahead and sign off. You guys can find, if you haven't noticed yet, I like to break, the top 25 segment and the Pac-12 segment into separate streams because I know not everybody cares about one or the other, so that's why I break them out. So, yeah, I like to. So if you have questions, of course, you can always answer on there as well. We check in on that to see, people have posted anything. Also, as always, you see something you like us doing, let us know. If there's something, you don't like us doing, let us know. We like to get some feedback on these streams. Greatly appreciated. That's all I have to say for right now. Ryan, you got anything before we sign off?
Yep, I was totally wrong. The program with the college with the most national championships in every sport is Stanford.
Really? How many?
145.
Who's second?
UCLA at 139.
Wow.
Yep. Actually, the top 3 teams are the 3 Pac-12 schools. It is Stanford, UCLA, and then USC.
Okay, California teams.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, there you have it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming out. Appreciate it as always. Asayla, thank you very much for the subscription during the stream. Joshua with the Lark. Ray, thank you very much for following and listening to us and talking in the chat some. Appreciate it. As I said, guys, this will be up on YouTube so you guys can catch it later. Please share it with any of your buddies, anybody who's into college football. Like I said, I'd like to try to get this around for other people, try to get involved, get them over here, see what they think so we can talk college football. Anyway, we're going to sign off. We will be doing our NFL stream tomorrow night. So you come by and check that out. It'll be a good one as we have some good stuff to talk about this week's NFL week. So yeah, we'll see you guys.